All right, guys. New subject. Actually, this lesson could be a big subject because we actually dealing with three. Um, we're gonna talk about trees. It's gonna be more nature in this subject. I'm gonna go over trees. How do you analyze and 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 groups all those leaves that you see into simple shapes and 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 the work for this work as for the design element, not necessarily drawing the whole every single leaves. And also we're gonna go over on plants like some succulents, some flowers, just again using our understanding of perspective and shape analysis to to come up with something that's like say it's way to more manageable, and you can sketch it down quickly and also get the essence down. And then third, we're going to talk about composition. I mentioned it before, something that's a very important topic, although it's going to be a little, just a little bits of it in this lesson, but because I feel like it's needed, and so I'm going to go over that. And I'm going to talk about how do you design interesting composition. We're going to talk about value grouping so you can get a sense of separations of the foreground, midground, background, and then and we're going to paint it. All right. So here's some examples again I have done previously. So the trees we're going to talk about, like I said, just grouping, more of it again, shape analysis, not to get anything very specific details, and but overall you can read that's the trees, and even what type of trees. And then well, this is the composition. So this is I should just misplace. Oh, it's all right. So this is the composition, which is the third, no, the third topic I'm going to go over. We're going to do a couple just small, like business card size uh, composition value study, knowing exactly where's the middle value, shadow, and the light, and then we're gonna transfer that, implement that into the painting. Because if you don't know at this stage, you won't able to do this. So here are some of the plans, and I will show you guys how to, again, not seeing each individual leaves or petals. It's all about overall shape and alignments and perspective. Again, more composition, understanding the 3 to 4 values, understanding the major the value separations. It's light against the dark, or dark against the light, or light against the dark. That's and based off that, and then we design into our third value or fourth value. You don't want too many value. It's not gonna work. It gets confused. And then here a little more. I'll get these all done with the gouache. And this is my personal. Obviously, this is not from the demo. I did this just on my own. This was I remember. I think this was a demo, and so is this forest was a demo. I pick it. I also pick a um a pictures that also has these like tropical forests. I like to paint them. I like they just beautiful. I like. I'm more a forest guy than the oceans. I think ocean scares me, but forest I like just the green lush, that mysterious light, and then enjoy painting it. It's very complex. If you look at a picture reference, even in the real scenario, it's so many leaves, all the stuff coming out left or right. How do you organize it so you can able to to paint it and able to read? There's still sense of depth to them. All right, so let's begin. And put these away. All right. Before I get to the pictures, I just want to come in, but I just want to start with something very basic. So generally, this is a tree. simple as you can get. This is somewhat tree. You can do a more of a triangular shape if you want, right? So we got the trunk. And this is what we call the crown. And then we have the roots. And then we have the branches, and then we have a twig all the way to the smaller, smaller elements. All right. So, like I said, breaking down everything to just a two-dimensional idea. That is a cone shape. That is a tube shapes. So when you shade this, or when you're looking at the tree in front of you, it's going to get more complex. But overall, it's going to look something like this. And you will say, but that doesn't look like a tree. That still looks like umbrella or something more like a mushroom. Yeah, this is an ideal in terms of we're thinking this as just a more of a like a cone shapes. The difference is the silhouettes, and the difference is what the transition between meeting where the light meets the shadows. So today, if I break out the silhouettes, and that's easy to do. And then also in the shadow transitions, dig some hole and poking out, and now it's gonna start feel more, I add some more, maybe some more branches. You're gonna feel more like a tree. But like I said, we wanted to bypass all those detail first and just analyze the big relation construction and shape idea. So a couple of things you have to also need to know. First of all, you need to know your eye level. Most likely, you're going to be on below. Tree, you're that giant, your eye level pretty low. So you probably be looking at a 3-point. And a 3-point view of this trunk. And also you got, like I said, you got branches coming out here and there. One of the most important thing is, again, we always want to make sure we are trying to avoid symmetries, especially in more of the organic subjects. See how that looks more interesting, versus imagine if you put it, even you curve the tree trunk, but if you put all the branches equally next to each other, it could be longer, it could be shorter, but you see how stiff, how boring that feels. And plus, what happened is, think about the trunk is three-dimensionally. It's if this thing is round, these branches someone's going to be more, someone's going to be close to us. Some they're going to be tucked away. Some are going to be probably be more behind. So it's a three-dimensional idea. It's like those clothing hanging, those rack clothing hangers, right? And it goes around it. The other thing you need to know is also, because your eye level, if your eye level lower, what will you be seeing at the top versus what you're seeing at the bottom? It will be a little different too. And if we just, like I said, analyze it, the tree as little bushes, little egg volumes, and I'm gonna put them right Let me put right here. I put one right here, and I put one right here, and let's put another one right here. Well, first of all, you know the size is different, right? Because it's because of your perspective, and also when you are looking, things are more. I'm gonna raise. I like to pretend raise the eye level a little bit, but no matter what, you're gonna be way below this uh, 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 leaf or group of leaves or bushes right here. You're gonna be more in the look underneath of this group. Little bit less, but more or less, you're gonna be seeing maybe over almost to the profile when you meet this one at the bottom. Keep that in mind because that's gonna we actually seeing it from the actual reference, or maybe if you don't do it out of the head, you will see that because it's perspective, because that's the reality that reality give you, right? So and then all these, the other thing you want to know, all this crown is basically made by all this little individual group, and they usually sit like this. So what happened is, again, when you think this way, if we have a light source coming from one direction, what you are actually shading it, you just basically you're shading a bunch of egg. Right? You might get cast shadows. It's like it's like, and you guys ever rendered clouds, which you should, you know, because they also goes into perspective, and then the one that's close to you, that you pretty much looking right over it. The further away you see less. Like that. All right. And so keep in mind, it's think as a two and two-dimensional shapes and a three-dimensional volumes. All right. And be aware of how these branches joins into that tree trunk. All right, let's look at a picture reference. So we got this trees right here. The tree trunk goes all over the place. So I'm just going to pick out the important one. I see one right here, the long branches coming down like this. I see this one goes away from us. goes away. And then looks like this come out a little bit. Fringe coming out right here. And they got thicker. They get thicker towards the trunk. It's smaller. Goes away from it. The rest of just bunch of groups. And then you also want to capture the gesture of the shape because they can look different. Some can be more. You can overall get to look the way that how leaves grow. Some looks more, uh, the overall shape looks more rounded. Some of it feels their sense of gesture. Everything hangs down toward, kind of towards the ground. Some have more of a broken see through, like a lot of like sky holes. Some are less. Again, group first. I'm thinking about how each group step up to the next group. Looking at negative space. And then for the one that further away or more higher up, you're actually going to see some of these leaves. They feel like they're floating, but just the twig is so small you can't see. They feel like they are just kind of floating on these off to the silhouette. And I'll just kind of check the overall balance. Do I need a little more here? Well, let's just add, because nobody's gonna, call on you if you screw up the leaves. So just overall, I want to feel the balance. All right. So I'm going to pretend, well, not pretend, looks like the light source is coming off on the right. To all this in cast shadows. Looks like, yeah, all this in cast shadows. You got, and then maybe a little bit of a light right here. You can follow the volume of the trunk. You can shake this way. You can follow with that gestures. Looks oldest in shadow too. I use the shadow to again to wrap around to feel the volumes, give it a sense of volume of the tree trunk. Throw some of the branches here and there. I want to give a solid base. So besides going to be thicker overall, the when you come down to roots, and also the shadow too, and the weight of the contrast. I think that's all right. And then all these little groups. Paint them in. Think of these eggs. Look at the shapes. Analyze, look carefully the shape of the leaves. How to make it decide how you want to do the shape at the halftone area. Okay, like I said, some be shorter, rounder. In this case, it looks like the leaf kind of thin and long. I'm always chasing that light and dark graphic separations. Design them, figure out the best, good balance. Not to get too heavy. something like that. All right, and then I'll probably I'm gonna extend this. I'm gonna crop this. That. I'm also gonna add a. It feel like kind of leans over to the side. I'm gonna give some cash shadow help to support it. All right. So again, this is actually if you do environment, you're actually probably not gonna draw a tree that large, and your tree probably most likely gonna be small like this, but it feels like it presents as a trees, right? And then you show it this to somebody, they would um they will also accept that. So let's look at another picture. All right. So I'm gonna do this smaller, and to me, it's just a again shape like this. Light coming also from the upper right. Draw in your shadow pattern. It can come across and cut across. It can come in this way. Just make it interesting. You can come over here and then and hugs around and coming back like this. Because that helps describe this bottom plane. All right, this almost looks um like a melon, some type of pear. See, this turns down like this. Like that. Matter of fact, when you paint, you probably that's gonna be what you're gonna start with. Take a big fat brush, just paint down with the shadow side, paint across a little, a little bit to get a little some of the group of the downplane of a certain group, and then um, you probably mix your half tones and then come in and soften. Take your brush and soften. And you can again break out the silhouette. All right. Let's see what we have next. Oh, we got one that looking way below. And like I was saying earlier with this right here, well, it's hard to see, but let's try it. We got a couple round, I got one big round shape right here. This hill goes down, we got more of a massive shape coming over, follow this angle. They kind of almost feel like overlap to a distance. Like a blanket covers over, got the big shadow right here. And these kind of fall like this, fall towards Earth. Got a couple native space poking out. So I'm looking at this gestures. I'm looking at this dimensions going back. I'm looking at this gestures. I'm also looking at this rhythm. So because here's where the rhythm balance, I need a group right here to counterbalance with this. I got big group right here, which is the focal point maybe right here. And everything falls into a distance. So that's my concept. Right. Light source coming from above. Maybe it's noontime, looks like almost directly above. So I want some thicker shadow at the bottom. And use that, like layering it next to each other. And goes up is smaller.